All right, so this is RJ Tia, and today I am super excited to have this tete-a-tete with two very interesting personalities. First, of course, is Sheena Chohan, the very, very talented actor. Of course, हमने आपको South की फिल्मों में देखा. That's where you actually began, right?
Yeah.
And then Hindi films and OTT, and especially your last film, Sant Tukaram, is something that I'm extremely excited to, speak to you about. We also have Mr. Fraser Scott. He's a writer. I just got to know he's half English, half Indian, but he knows so much about India, and he's doing some amazing work, here in India. And I'm super excited to know everything that you're doing, Fraser. So yeah, how are you guys doing, and what gets you
Great.
to Pune?
We're doing amazing, and we're here for the Pune International Film Festival. And it's the first time we were invited to come here, and it's really, really a joy, especially after the film Sant Tukaram just released.
Yeah.
So for me, it's an exciting time to be here. What about you?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a great city, and
Yeah.
we were here for the launch of Santakaram,
Yeah.
and people loved it. It was a beautiful film, and so many people saw it. So, for Sheena to meet those people is great.
So Sheena, you've had like a very interesting journey. You're born in Chandigarh.
Yes.
Like a typical North Indian girl,
Yeah.
debuts in the South, works with a great Mammootty, and then you also do a film which is Hindi film, but it's Sant Tukaram, like a
Yeah.
very like a Marathi centric storyline. And so, where does this diversity comes from?
Just comes from, actually started all with theatre. I did 5 years of theatre. I am a Sardarni. I was born in Chandigarh. A Judge Sardarni from Bathinda.
Same page.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And then I grew up in Calcutta, Tia.
Yeah.
So I had this cultural amalgamation of Punjab and Bengal. I did martial arts. I did dancing, and then got into theatre in Calcutta. I did 5 years of theatre, and then in school I realized that this was my calling. I wanted to act. I wanted to create characters, because
Wow.
it really gave me a lot of joy and being able to express myself. I was a very shy kid, and then my first break with Mammootty happened in the South, and with the 7-time national award-winning director.
Yes.
That's what came to me. So because I got a Malayalam film, I took it up, and then I did 2 films after that with Buddhadev Dasgupta. He's a legendary filmmaker in Bengal,
Yeah.
called Mukti and Patralekha. It was on a series of Tagore's stories, and then I did a film as a lead called And Story after that with an international filmmaker. A lot of my journeys went through a lot of independent and international film festival
Wow. Yes.
circuits, and I was nominated Best Actress at the Shanghai Dubai Film Festival by Shekhar Kapoor, was the jury head, and then I did a couple of web series, and then finally, after doing 7-8 great international projects, my Hindi debut happened, called Sant Tukaram. Yes,
Which is
you're
so
right.
amazing.
I know.
I mean, people generally start their journey from Indian films, and then they move to international projects. For you, it was the other way.
Yes.
And
It's exciting because now I have, after Sant Tukaram released, I would say that now I have a Telugu film releasing with J.D. Chakravarti. He was in Sapne Mein Milti Hai, Satya fame.
yeah,
And then I just had a Tamil film release announced with Vino as a director, and Mr. J. Mohan, who's actually one of the jury heads at the Pune International Film Festival. And I also have a Hollywood film called Nomad coming out.
yes, I was
Yeah,
going to ask you
yeah.
about that one. So
That's
tell us
a-
more about Nomad, the Hollywood film. I mean,
It's a film directed by Taron Lexton, and I play a traveler in that, and it's coming out this year. And I also have a web series where I play Lilith. Lilith is also a biographical character. She was the first wife of Adam, and she got banished in the Garden of Eden for wanting equality. And I work with
wow.
human rights.
Yes,
you know.
yes.
So it's all coming like a full circle
Wow,
round.
wow. So, we're going to, of course, talk about human rights and a lot more. But before that, I want to come back to Fraser. So, many people would actually think that you're probably visiting India, or, you've just come here for a project or so. But it's very interesting to actually tell you that his grandfather has had a production house in Mumbai and has worked and produced films for Dev Anand. And off air, we were talking about the fact that your mother's actually worked with Raj Kapoor. Tell me more about that. It's very interesting.
Well, she danced around the feet of Raj Kapoor. I mean,
Oh,
they lived in Bandra, and so Raj Kapoor was filming there, and they were just walking their dog, and then he said, "Hey, come on, run! We're in a film." And then they ran around his feet, and they used it in the film. And actually, when we went to when we went to IFFI last time, we're sitting there in the auditorium and we're watching the screen, and then there's my mother dancing around Raj Kapoor's feet. But yeah, my grandfather, he did writing on Hum Dono. He produced a bit of Hum Dono. Then when Dave came to London, he did some of the production for one of his films in London. And his dream was always to make films in India which travelled internationally. But he went back to England, he raised his family there, and he kind of forgot about all that. And he started racing Formula 3 cars instead. And so I now am taking up that idea of his to make films in India that travel worldwide.
That is so amazing. Now, you're making films in India in the year 2026. Of course, so many things have changed. India is no longer the India that probably was back then. I mean, how do you see the process of filmmaking in India now?
Well, you have to have a great idea. Yeah. You have to write it very well. It's now people want much more web series than they want films. So it has to, the content is king. Like people, the cinema, the statistic that was released earlier this week was that films that have made 100 crore or more have reduced by 42% this year. And the surveys that were done was the audience said that it's because of the content, the quality, and that was the only reason. And you look at the films that have succeeded, they're making a lot more money, and it's the quality, it's the quality of the filmmaking.
Absolutely. So it's content is the king. It's no longer about where is it being shot or who's the hero or who's the heroine.
Right.
And which I think is a great change. And what do you say as an actor? How do you see this change?
I think it's a great time because it's no longer about the stars. The content is the star.
Yeah.
And even my next director I'm working with on Arjuni Allarani, which is a Tamil film written by Mr. J. Mohan, who actually wrote the Mahabharata, rewrote it in Tamil, and he did Pona Silvan with Aishwarya Rai. And we were talking yesterday at the Pune Film Festival, and he was saying that how now really it is a time when content really, it's about fresh content.
Yes.
Most of the time you look at a lot of the web series and a lot of content around us, and it's a copy of Hollywood or a copy of this, or they're trying to go by
trying
formulas.
to do the same thing.
Yeah, like formulas, you know.
Yeah.
But it's really that fresh idea and that fresh content away from the group think that really is what is needed. And therefore, I think it's a great time to explore and really kind of get out of the box for talent, artists, content creators, filmmakers, writers, actors.
So, let's come back to the film called Sant Tukaram, which you did recently. And do you see that as a, defining moment in your career? Do you think that film has changed things for you? And how do you look at that film? Because it was all about, it was a great film. I mean, the topic itself is something that, is very relatable to every Indian. It talks about discrimination. It talks about strength, and it talks about, fighting the odds. How do you see this film?
The film Sant Tukaram changed my life completely, primarily because the role, Avli Jijabai, she was a woman who first fought with her husband because she wanted his love, and then she fought they fought against discrimination.
Yeah.
They fought for equality in society. And even today, the Wadis and the Palkis and all of this, even in the whole area of Maharashtra, continues because of Sant Tukaram.
Yeah.
So that role gave me, it was a dream role, Tia, completely. Dream role because firstly, it aligns with my purpose of human rights as an ambassador. Secondly, a role because I could really create a woman who has such amazing layers and is so complex, but yet she's fighting for something greater than herself, which is a lot of with her husband for the cause of, equality and creating awareness of basic rights. So I just think that it's just, for me, that this role, for me, it's a dream role.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure for any actor, to act in a film like Sant Tukaram would be, a dream.
And with Subodh Bhave, who is actually the king of biopics and Marathi cinema.
And then, of course, you also worked with Nagesh Kuknur. That's a completely different experience, working with the great Madhuri Dixit, who's seen the commercial success and, been part of the quintessential Bollywood
actress,
films. So how was that experience?
Oh, it's like a fangirl moment working with Madhuri and Kajol because
Yeah.
I've grown up watching their films. They've been my icons, especially Kajol. Madhuri, of course, as an all-rounder performer, dancer, actor. All her films from Dil to
Hum Aapke Hai
Hum
Kaun
Aapke
to
Hain Kaun. Oh my God! But really, what I learned from them was professionalism. What I took back from them is how to really stay true to your work and your passion and
ethics
how to
and
have fun while you're working by giving it your all, but at the
yeah.
same time you immerse yourself in that universe of that character, so you just become it. Like Kajol, she's so effortlessly every character she plays. Madhuri, whether she's a dancer, she's an actor, it's just the emotion and effortlessly. Obviously it comes with a lot of
Experience,
but I
absolutely.
learned from these actors. Working with them taught me a lot about professionalism, staying true to your character, and really the discipline of being able to give your work 100%.
Wow. You were a fighter in your previous film, and then you've seen a lot of professionalism in the one that we spoke about with Madhuri Dixit and Kajol. But in real life also, it's everything that you're actually learning and doing in films. You're actually implementing everything in real life. You're the brand ambassador for United for human rights, and so are you. So tell me about that role that you play.
It is a role that I enjoy the most, Tia, because it's something I've been passionate about since I was literally out of school. I became the ambassador for the United for Human Rights, the largest non-governmental, non-political organization.
Yes.
It spreads the message of the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And the whole purpose and the goal is to spread awareness of basic rights and equality to the youth, because I believe that if you don't know your rights, how do you stop it from being violated? So during the COVID, we were like, how can we create this awareness? So much was going around. So we launched a podcast, which our Balki launched. Imtiaz Ali, Nandita Das, Sonakshi Sinha, Sonu Sood. We all came together as one voice, and I was the ambassador. Fraser was the international ambassador. We
Wow.
co-created this. We launched it with Hubhopper, India's #1 podcast channel, and we reached 170 million people with the message of basic rights and equality. Then we have a new campaign now called Read Me My Rights, which is going on. We've reached human rights and gotten into the curriculum of more than 60 universities across India and South
Wow.
Asia. And the goal is to reach 1 billion people with the basic awareness of human rights and make human rights a part of the Indian schools curriculum.
Sheena, this is really very interesting because you're in this field which is all about entertainment and glamour and having to team something up with your job and go out and do this amazing work. Was it like a conscious decision? You always wanted to have a purpose in life and in your career, or did it just happen? Like I think it's an amazing combination. How did this happen?
I think I was looking for something greater than just the fame of, because it would be very fleeting. I was Miss Calcutta, and then I, remember becoming, the face of so many brands in Calcutta. Then I did all these films, and it was always very fleeting. And I was looking for something that would be a little bit greater than a purpose greater than myself, in the sense of something I could leave a positive impact for with society. And when I found human rights, because I had seen so much human rights violations as a child in my own family with my mother. My dad passed away very young. My mother had to go through a lot of, and I'm sure you'll agree, in our society with women, we are treated in a way as second-class citizens. There is this inequality there. But I had so many questions which never got answered. So I was like, what can I do in my own bit that can, as
Change
what I've
this.
seen around, me, when I look at my mother and what she went through, and she was not allowed to work. She was very traditional Punjabi family. And so I said, what can I do? I said, okay, I want to take this up. I want to spread this. I want to be a voice for a lot of women. So in my own little way, it actually became an impetus that every time I would get a platform, every time I would do a film, I could take this and take the message of human rights and communicate it to like millions of people or hundreds and thousands of people.
Amazing.
And that, I feel, became a fuel for passion even in my profession.
Wow. Fraser, what about you? What got you to, get into human rights? And you're also writing a web series, which of course we're going to talk about in a bit. But what actually got you to work with human rights?
It's part of my religion, actually. I'm Scientologist is my religion, and the Church of Scientology has the largest, owns humanrights.com. So while I've been studying Scientology, then I learned about human rights, and I saw this campaign. And when I saw I'd never read you have 30 human rights. I'd never read them. I didn't know about them. I didn't know what they were.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that led me to read them. United for Human Rights made all of the 30 human rights into films. So because literacy is quite low and the Constitution is very difficult language, it's hard to read. Even if you've read, say, the Indian Constitution, you can read it but not know what the hell it means, you know, because it's complicated words. And so what we did was we simplified it into very simple language, and then we made it into films.
Wow.
And those films have been seen by 750 million people. They've been played on the biggest news channels. They've been played in, you know, airports, non-stop, bus shelters, all this stuff. Because ultimately, if we want to protect this world, if you want to end war, then you need human rights. The whole reason that human rights were put there was to stop something happening. The human rights were created at the end of the Second World War to prevent another Second World War, because we came close to complete extinction as a species. And so the people of the world came together. Eleanor Roosevelt said, you know, got the world together and said, let's make a bunch of rules that are our human rights. And they took all sorts of stuff that had been written over thousands of years and they put it together into one document. A woman did this, the wife of the president, and actually an Indian woman was a big part of it. There's a lady, her name was Hansa Mehta, and she was a fierce woman. She was like a bulldog, and she was actually the daughter of a chief minister. And her father, the chief minister, he got all of his funding from the British.
Wow.
And she was like, she didn't care that his power came from the British, and he did not want her speaking up, and she just kept speaking up and speaking
my
up.
God.
And she fought, and she caused a fuss, and she got jailed. And in the end of the day, she ended up at the United Nations sitting. Eleanor Roosevelt picked her to help write the United Nations Universal Declaration, and it was because of this Indian woman that the words in the UN got changed from all men are created equal to all human beings.
Wow.
Wow.
That is so amazing.
An Indian woman did that.
That is
So
something I
amazing.
think on the Republic Day is to be known, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I didn't
Thank
know
you so
that.
much for sharing that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So this web series about 15 women who actually wrote the Constitution. You're making a web series on it. Tell us more about it. Tell us more about these 15 women and this web series.
Well, actually, on Republic Day about 4 years ago, Priyanka Chopra posted this story of these 15 women who wrote the Indian Constitution. She'd done this research, she found it, she posted all these pictures, and that's the first time I heard about it. And I thought, how fascinating is that? But then it just dropped out of my mind. And then we did all the work we did with human rights. We reached all these people, and we even got a lot of Indian people's work shown at the United Nations. When we worked with Imtiaz Ali, he picked freedom of expression as his right. He talked about, and Sonakshi Sinha, she chose the right to education, and we got this shown at the UN. And then we were talking with this guy at Netflix and asking him what he was looking for at the moment, and he said, well, I'm looking for courtroom drama and I'm looking for patriotism. And we were just about to go to a film festival, and I'm talking with Sheena, and we're like, oh, I should write that story about the women who wrote the Indian Constitution.
Wow.
So I quickly got the rights to a book by Professor H. Chetan, who wrote The Founding Mothers of the Indian Republic. He did 16 years of research. So, yeah. And he went and he got sponsorship from Columbia University, traveled the world, and he just got all the information together, and he wrote this incredible book. And it journeys from you have starting off, okay, Sarojini Naidu, going back to the beginning of the 20th century. She was a child genius. She got to university, I think, at 12 years old.
Yeah.
And she ended up going to London. And when she was there, she was writing poetry. And people were being critical and nasty, and because first she was Indian. And so her skin color. Secondly, she was a woman, and how dare she write poetry, you know? And this criticism actually put her into a nervous breakdown. And what she did was she managed to turn that pain into poetry.
Wow.
And that's how she became the Nightingale of India. And she was like, well, screw you. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But she's like, forget this. I'm not being pushed down. I'm going to speak. And she took that experience, and instead of originally she was writing flowery love poetry, and she changed it to be an independence, to nationalist, and she was the oldest member of these women, and actually she was part of the group of people who got the national flag made. And just, I think it was 1 month after the national flag was presented at the Congress, she died. So my story starts off with her, and we go through the founding of the women's movement. We go through these women got women the vote. And originally it was just a limited amount of vote, but that led to more and led to more. And they built this big, powerful movement. But then it started getting all sorts of strange people coming into it, like communists, and you had like one of the characters, one of the women who got into the it's called the Constituent Assembly. So the room where the Constitution was written, 300 people, 285 of the most powerful men in India, the President of India, and 15 women. And so you had these 15 women battling against the backdrop of partition, against the backdrop of fighting for the very, very constitution of the country. And there you have these women trying to get gender put into that. Like when you have things like security, you have things, the Pakistan issue, and you've got these 15 women trying to say, yeah, but what about equal rights for women?
Yeah. Yeah.
But they succeeded.
Imagine, we're just talking about the fact that women always get the secondary treatment, but women have always been fighting, and not just for themselves, but also like for others around, and which is so amazing.
Yeah, and like me too, but these stories are so amazing
Very,
to hear
very
on
amazing.
26th. January. I also wasn't very aware of such deep-rooted stories about Sarojini Naidu.
Tell me,
my God.
what is this interest, this strong desire to know more about India, this passion to work in India, and this research and the study that you do about India? Where does this come from?
Well, my mother was born in Dehradun.
Okay.
My grandfather was in the Indian Army. He was handpicked by Nehru to be the chief instructor at the Defence Academy in Dehradun. My uncle, my aunt, they were all born in India. And so I grew up on stories. My grandfather wrote a book which when he was patrolling along the border in China, he was coming up with this book. And then in his last years, he wrote that. And so when I grew up, I was his oldest grandchild. Then I heard all these stories, these.
That was in UK.
That was in UK.
Oh, okay.
And so I grew up with stories of India, but I didn't come to India until I was about 33. But India is the home of the Vedas. India is the home of the original wisdom. The deepest truths in the world come from India. The zero comes from India.
Absolutely.
We need to hear, right? With Republic Day and everything about India.
Yes,
I wish Indians will speak like,
India was the wealthiest
We love our
country in the
country,
world.
Of course.
In 16th century until we came and took it all.
Okay, then. It's so interesting. We're talking about Republic Day, hearing stories about our own country from somebody who's actually
Indian
is
and
a
invader.
British. Okay, I'm not calling you. I didn't say that. But definitely not calling you an invader, because you know so much about our country, I think, more than us.
He's writing stories also.
Yes.
Even his
It's
whole...
an amazing, it's a beautiful story, and it's because a story, you want conflict, right? What's the definition of story? What's the definition of drama? It's conflict. And these women had way more battles to go through because the society was set up so that they weren't allowed to speak. You come into your offices here and it says on the wall, speak up.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And that they weren't allowed to speak. So imagine trying to get into the room where the Constitution's written. You're not even allowed to talk. And so their struggle was insane. And it's more drama. Of course, what Gandhi went through, Nehru went through, of course, that's crazy drama. But the women had it's hard to say more, because obviously Gandhi is going up against the British Army and stuff like that. So, but in terms of societal barriers, it was impossible for them, but they succeeded. And what they had to do to get there, I mean, the majority of the women who were in the Constituent Assembly were wealthy, privileged women, because they're the only ones who would even have a chance. But you had a Dalit villager was one of the women. You had one of the women. She ended up. The way she got into the civil disobedience movement, the way she got into the non-violence movement was by sneaking the use of bombs and guns.
Wow. It's true. Indian women. That's how they made the 15 women who made the Indian Constitution.
Well, there's so many stories. I mean, like if you take Princess Amrit Kaur, she was a Punjabi princess. She was brought up in a palace that was one of her palaces was modeled after Versailles, and she was drenched in money, covered in silks, and her story, she went from meeting Gandhi. When she met Gandhi, she had to she gave up her silks, she gave up her jewelry, she went to his ashram, right? So she went from a palace to an ashram. Then she went from an ashram to a jail cell.
Oh my God.
And then to the room where the Constitution was written.
Wow, that is so amazing.
You ask why human rights. I say why not? When you hear stories like this, you come to realize there's so many stories about women, and that's why equality of basic rights comes out. And there's so many amazing, that's why I think even today we're still fighting for basic rights and equality.
But how do you feel living in India as a woman in 2026 and doing all the things that you're doing?
I think that we're still up against a lot of mindset that needs to be changed. Yes, there's been a huge change, of course. But I think in many ways, in our own profession, in our lives, and across our dynamics, I think there's still a lot that we have to work towards. And I have to say, when I walked into your office and I read Speak Up, I think it starts with speaking up. And I'm so glad that, even what you're doing, like we come together as a collective voice.
Absolutely.
Of course, we are artists, we are creating our own jobs, but it'll be great if we can even create like some kind of a revolution, which imagine what these women did. If they could 15 women could like bring this whole change. And
imagine if all of us come
got
together
and amount of change we could bring about in society for basic rights and equality.
Wow, so amazing. I'm so glad, that we're learning so much from each other. I want to know, when is the web series coming out?
Well, I'm just writing it, so I've got no idea. I mean, you have to get it accepted. So it's probably at least a year and a half more writing.
Oh.
And then it's an epic. It's like on the level of, it's like the Hindi equivalent is Hiramandi. The English equivalent is The Crown. So
he means the scale of it.
Yes,
basically.
yes, got it.
And who is going to make something which is about the 15 women who created the Indian Constitution?
Netflix.
So Netflix will. We're trying to get Netflix, but of course, when he's writing, it's also like, who would like to hear this story? Who would back this up? So you need the similar kind of people coming together. But of course, it all starts with a germ, right? It starts with let's do
with
this.
the idea.
Yes.
Netflix is run by women.
Yeah.
So,
That's true.
Monica Shergill's at the head. The head of the series is a woman, and the team is women. So, I think because you have on Sony Live, you have Freedom at Midnight, then you've got Gandhi is going to come out. That's not going to be on Netflix. So, I really think Netflix has a duty to. You have all these stories of the founding fathers. Well, we need the stories of the founding mothers.
Mothers, absolutely. That's my line from the show.
Great.
Superb. All right. So, any message that you want to give out to, our viewers and listeners on Republic Day?
Read the Constitution with a dictionary.
Wow.
Seriously, because the only reason when you're reading, if you ever get to the end of a page and you can't remember what you've just read, or if you're reading something and your mind goes blank or you get distracted, the only reason that happens is because you've gone past a word you didn't fully understand.
Yeah.
So when you read, you need to make sure you understand the words. And there's so many difficult, confusing words. So
understand. Don't just read, but understand what you're reading.
Understand it. Don't be ashamed to use a dictionary. Don't be so proud that, I know the meaning of all words. Maybe you're not quite sure of the meaning of a word. Look it up in the dictionary. And if you go to rights.com, we have films there, and
Yeah.
we've also got it in simplified language. Read the Constitution, because it is going to the only defense that we have against disaster is the Constitution of India, the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. They are put there to protect society. They're put there to protect our rights. And if every one of them knows their rights, then they can't have them taken away.
Superb. What's your message?
Oh my God. My message is watch Sant Tukaram, because it's going to be out in an OTT. And yes, my basic message is, I have two messages. One is believe in your dreams, because if you believe in them, they can come true. And on Republic Day, my message is know your rights, because if you really know your rights, you can't stop them from being, like, they will not be violated. You only have things violated against because you don't know what they are. So creating awareness of basic rights and equality, humanrights.com, know your United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and be empowered as a woman, as a man. Let's be an empowered society and create a better and a more civilized, uplifting, and an amazing world together. That's it.
Superb.
True.
Thank you guys for coming
Thank
in
you.
the studio.
Thank
It
you,
was
Tia.
amazing chatting with the both of you. I hope the series is made very, very soon.
And
as
we
you
come
said.
back here and we speak about
Yes,
it, yeah?
yes,
Great.
So we
and it's
remember.
actually picked up by the right people for the right reason. And Sheena, of course, you're doing amazing work. All the very best for all your future endeavors. What's coming next other than Sant
Yeah.
Tukaram on OTT?
So a very exciting film I've just signed, was announced by Variety. It's called Arjunan Alirani. It's a Tamil film written by Mr. B.J. Mohan, who wrote the Mahabharata and Ponnaselvan 1 and 2 in Tamil. And I play Alirani. She was actually, it's a folk tale, so it's a goddess, and she also fought for equality, and she was a Dalit. And I'm going to be shooting in the interiors of Tamil Nadu for that, so I'm very excited. I'm learning stick fighting for it. I have to I'm a martial arts brown belter, but the whole training of that is very exciting. So that is coming up. And also a Telugu film called Jatsamaranam Dhruvam opposite J.D. Chakravarti, where I play a cop, is coming up. And a web series called Bhayava, where I play a she-devil called Lilith, who also fought for equality. So these are the three projects coming up.
Superb. Wow, that's so amazing. Well, if you enjoyed watching this interview, or if you want to know more about Sheena and Fraser, of course, please comment below, like, subscribe, share. Thank you so much, guys, for coming in the
Thank you.
studio.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tia.